Hey guys, welcome back to another fun podcast. Welcome to Thanks Management. I've got Melody here with me today.
Hello.
What's going on, Mel?
Hey, Jen.
How's your week been?
It's been long. Regular stuff.
Yeah,
Kids.
it's not too bad.
Nope. Haven't had too many bad things happen.
That's a good thing. It's a good week. Cheers to that. So tell me what you've been up to these days. What exactly do you do? What's your position at work?
So, I am a regional manager.
Mm-hmm.
So I just travel from store to store. I check on my staff. I check on the store. Of course, I look at my numbers.
Yeah.
Make sure
Typical.
everything's moving and selling and shaking.
Typical manager stuff.
Typical manager stuff.
Yeah, you haven't. How's your staffing right now? I mean, because I know we've talked about issues with staffing in the past, and are you having any right now?
Right now, I mean, it's not too bad. It's not as bad as it was. I'm probably down. Maybe I need about 5 people. I'm really struggling with daytime staff right now.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to work nights. Everyone wants to work weekends, and I need daytime people.
Yeah.
And it's just really tough to find because most people utilize my type of job as like part-time.
Yeah.
So they want to be there at night.
In the service industry, absolutely. I mean, most of the money's at night, but it is a great daytime job for parents who have kids and just want to come to work, have their job and make their money and then go home for the evening time. It's very
and then
flexible.
the flexibility.
Yeah, very flexible.
So I think a lot of people don't consider that, but
well, I know
so that's
you were
one of the things
struggling
I push.
for a while, so I'm really glad to hear that you've kind of gotten over that hump. And it's always a struggle, but that's a lot better than having to work those shifts by yourself, right? That's tough. So, how the kids doing?
The kids are doing well.
You got how many? 17 or?
I have a 22. And he's trying to decide whether he's going back to school, if he wants to just go out into the workforce.
Yeah.
So he's just working right now. And then my daughter is 17, so we are doing college tours. Posted about that. So we're visiting different colleges, and she's also considering the military. So
okay. All right then.
we're looking into that.
She's got a plan.
Yes. And my 16-year-old son, that's my track star. So we are getting ready to start indoor track.
Okay.
So I'll be texting you about that.
Yeah.
And then my youngest one, his first high school football game was yesterday. He's 14.
How'd he do?
He did well.
Great.
I was very, very proud.
Oh, I love that. It's my favorite thing. I love the football games. I know. I can't help myself. I've watched football since I was this little. I tried to play in junior high, and my dad wouldn't let me. I was like, I want to tackle somebody.
Side, but I didn't want to play,
I wanted to hit people too.
Don't even ask me his position. I just know.
Stop it.
He's on the line.
Offense or defense?
I think defense. He's a big kid. He's 6 feet tall.
Okay.
And he's 220 pounds.
Oh, so. My. He's definitely on the line.
Yeah. So it
don't matter which line. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad everybody's doing well.
How's your baby?
He's good. I mean, not a baby anymore, but whew, driving, going to homecoming, has a girlfriend. Driving? Yes.
You're letting him drive?
Yeah, I am.
Oof.
Yeah. He called it his car the other day. Oh, I'm sorry. No. He called it our car. He said, Mom, I think we need to clean our car. I said, you need to clean our car.
Go right ahead.
Oh, man. Well, you've been a manager for a long time. What other, we don't have to talk about companies, but how long have you been in management?
I actually started in college. So retail has just been since I started working. I started retail when I was 15. And just from there, I just kind of went from mainly grocery retail. And then I transitioned to clothing retail because I was in college in apparel merchandising and design. So all of my training and everything was just in retail companies. And so that's kind of where I got my start in management. And I transitioned over to
hospitality. Service hospitality.
And this is my first time doing the service industry. Okay. So I like it.
Yeah.
I do like it.
It's fun. Totally
different from retail, but there are some things that we can take from retail that we can use that I try to sometimes use in my stores.
Well, ultimately, you're managing people, right? Regardless, the work, the paperwork, the inventory. I mean, looks a little different, but like
Right.
ultimately you're managing people,
Exactly.
and so that's the job.
That's it.
And I tell people that all the time, like I did inventory. Okay, the hard part is the people. Just wait.
hardest
Let's
part.
just wait till we have these issues. And
It's
all.
the staffing.
It's
Yeah, the staff is the
staffing.
hardest part.
It's the most rewarding too. So I
you
love
have
it.
really good staff.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you work through that. Training all the time. It never stops. All right, I got a couple of questions for you. I'm just interested in your thoughts on these and the way you manage. And I like to hear everybody's individual styles of management. So, what strategies can I use to become a more effective leader? This is actually one of the questions I've gotten, like email questions I've gotten from a manager who I actually work with.
Okay.
And she wanted to know, I think she's having problems, like she wants to delegate, and be a great manager, but then she doesn't want the staff to be mad at her either. So she's like trying to balance all of that. So, so what strategies can she use to become a more effective leader?
Well, first, she has to lead by example.
That's
So
huge.
I always tell my staff, I'll never ask you to do something that I'm not willing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's something that needs to be done, then I'll definitely step in and I'll help. So she definitely has to lead by example. It just kind of seems like she's afraid to delegate because she doesn't want to tarnish like relationships. So she's going to have to put that line in the sand where we have a great working relationship, but this is what I need you to do. So she just may have to ease into it.
Yeah, set boundaries, right?
Yeah, and just kind of say, hey, I kind of need help. Can you help me with this? She has to communicate effectively. That's the next thing. If she doesn't communicate effectively, then everything else just kind of doesn't matter. So coming in, I think with anyone, even with her current staff, maybe she needs to sit down, I'm big on meetings. I'm big on store meetings. I like to get everybody to the table and have a conversation and say, okay, these are the expectations. And, every few months, things may change. You just never know what's going to happen.
It's true.
But when things change, or if it's something large enough, then you definitely want to sit down and make sure everybody's on the same page, and then they can funnel that information down.
Yeah,
go from
absolutely. So for somebody who's just starting off, let's say they were just promoted or given a position with the company, and they have a whole new staff that they have to get to know, right? And you don't know them yet. How could that person start building strong relationships with their team?
One person at a time, number one. So on those shifts, I personally would schedule myself with each one of them.
Okay.
So even now, even at the level that I'm at now, I'm very hands-on. So I like to know everyone who's working under me. So I will actually go in and work a shift. It may not be a full 8-hour shift, but I'll work a few hours with that person just to kind of get to know them, chat with them, find out what their interests are. So I would definitely suggest that she does that. Just so they can say, okay, well, she does have some type of vested interest in me outside of this.
Yes.
You want to know, how are your kids? How was their first day of school? So those little small things matter.
They do.
Even if you don't see them all the time or every single day, when you do see them and you do have those small conversations, those things do matter. So I would definitely suggest that she take some time and, do a shift with them. Of course, she can do a meeting. But the meetings are always so, one way.
Right.
Even though it's a two-way meeting, most times they won't say as much versus when you're sitting next to them or just standing next to them at work and y'all are doing something together and just start conversation. You can bring up something about yourself. Yeah.
No,
bring up something about yourself and be like, my kids did this, and they'll, I have a child, or my daughter just started school, and then you just take the conversation from there.
Right. And going to my next question. Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's my next question is how to create a positive work environment. But I think if you're doing those strategies and everything you just said, it does create a positive work environment because you feel like somebody cares. Like I'm going to work to a job where somebody actually not just cares that I do a good job, but cares about me personally.
Right. And I mean, when you have those established relationships, because when you're in management, you need to make sure that you have people around you that you can, number one, trust, but you also want people around you that you can rely on, because you just never know what you may need. So you want to be able to call that person and say, hey, can you do this for me, or can you do that for me? But they need to be able to call you and ask you for that as well.
Right.
So if you don't know what's going on in their life, and they say, hey, I'm running late because this happened, then you should be able to say, you know what, I can go for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Do what you need to do. Or I need to leave early. So if you make those little small different maneuvers to help them out, they'll bend over backwards for you.
Yeah. And so I guess this is a great question for you because you're really in it with your teams. And so how do you better understand your team's individual needs?
I talk to them on a regular basis. I'm in my stores quite often. Mm-hmm. So when I go in, I don't just talk to my members of management. I talk to everybody. And see how they're doing. I had one today. She was by herself. I checked on her daughter. Her daughter had just started preschool. So she had never been to school in her life. So this was her first little experience. And so, now she's in school. She was like, she has a sinus infection. So, just kind of knowing, chatting through that and being a mom, just kind of chatting through that. I went to another store, talked to a guy. He's in school. He was actually running late. So I was like, cool, I'll sit here until you get here. Mm-hmm. Chatted with him about school. My staff, they'll text me, just different things. So I really like to get into conversations with them about what they have going on, even if it's not work related, because there's just some things that I may be able to offer.
Yes.
Or advice that I can give that maybe they can learn from. Or
so in saying that, there has to be a boundary. So if somebody ever goes over or it's a little too much for you, how do you have that conversation, or how do you handle that with that person to let them know that, okay, I'm here for you, but there is a boundary too. Like, I have a personal life, and how do you?
I had to set that boundary when I first, took over in my position that I'm in now. I was getting so many phone calls all times of night. And it was like, I just couldn't get any rest. So finally I had to say, hey, listen, if it is not a true emergency, then after a certain time,
Same.
don't call me or text me.
Yeah.
Leave it for tomorrow. We can handle it for tomorrow. And if it's an emergency, of course, call me and I'll come. I'll do whatever I can to help you. But just a random question, where are the trash bags?
On a Sunday night at 6 p.m.
I don't want that phone call.
Yeah,
so
and you have a coworker you could probably ask, right? Because why you gotta call me?
And I have everyone in individual groups, so check with the store first. Don't just come directly to me. But even throughout the day, you shouldn't ask me what the Wi-Fi password is at the store when you have a level of management. So I make sure that they know what the chain of command is and make sure that they follow the chain of command and they stick to that. And sometimes you have to reiterate it.
Yes.
So
because then they'll get too comfortable again. And
right.
No, but that's good because it's important for you as the leader to have your own time, to have your own mental time, to have because we are on call 24/7
all the time.
You've got to have your own space and your own boundaries. And that's really important because if we're not good, we can't really be our best with our staffs, right? And our teams.
And I had to actually put my phone on Do Not Disturb at night. So after a certain time, I know that all of my stores, what time they close. And so I'll say, okay, 15 minutes after the last store closed, I'm going to go on Do Not Disturb because there should be no emergency,
Work emergency, right?
And so then I'll move it up. Sometimes I'll move it up depending on what I have going on personally. But I had my phone on Do Not Disturb last night and it just kept ringing. And it kept ringing and just so happened an alarm was going off at one of the stores. And it went off 4 times from 3 a.m. to 4:30 a.m.
My goodness.
And they called me every time.
Every time. And we're supposed to be the last one on the list.
So I was like, I am so tired. I have to be up for 5.
Oh my gosh. So, no, I totally get that. Yeah, that's tough. What was going on with your alarm? What happened?
The decoration.
The
decorations were making the sensors go.
We're in September. It ain't even October. What the decorations you got going on?
Halloween's out. We have Christmas coming
it's September.
up.
What's today?
Our Halloween decorations are out.
You're worse than Walmart.
October 1st, we're going to put the candy out as well for the customers.
You always have your candy.
I always have my candy
have your candy. I love that. So how do you handle disagreements between team members? This is a fun one.
Okay. So I
guess you should be asking me that. No.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I kind of learn from the best.
Hey.
So initially, I tried to have one-on-ones. Let me hear what you have to say. Let me hear what you have to say. And then I kind of gauge if I should bring the two people to the table, because sometimes you just shouldn't.
Yeah, I learned that.
If it's something where you can bring them to the table, then let's do it. And I actually had one of those Monday where I had one of my store level managers and I had a new employee. The communication just wasn't working. And it was very small. And it was definitely something that they could have discussed. But I think it was just more of, well, I text you and you didn't respond. Or you took this many hours to respond to me. So you text me and I'm not going to respond. I'm going to take this many hours. And then so it's kind of like going tit for tat.
Yeah.
And so I set them both down and I'm like, we're going to do this one time. I said, this is definitely something that we can resolve, like right here. We don't even have to ever do this again. And so I let them have their conversation. You know, I didn't let it go on. I didn't go past 5 minutes. I let them have their conversation.
You didn't have to pick up your keys and walk out? Oh, okay.
Nope, I did not have to pick up my keys. And I said, so I went over the policies with the new person.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, I reminded the manager, if you follow these policies, then we won't have these issues. You know, these are the things that we have in line, just in general. If you want to do something different for your level, your store levels, add a little something to it, that's fine. But just for general, this is what we're going to follow. So that way you won't have a person who says, well, I didn't know, or I did it this way because you didn't tell me about this. So clear communication.
Yeah.
Just make sure you have clear communication. If it's two people that you cannot put in the same room, then that becomes tough because, you know, you don't want to separate them. You don't want to, you know, because if you move one, they're going to be like, well, why am I being moved or why am I being punished? So, you know, I really, really, really try to get them to talk it out. And there's been an instance where that just didn't work. And I did have to move someone to another store. I moved someone to the other store, and then that other store became a problem. So then I knew at that point
that person.
that it was that person.
Yeah.
And so I just had to take the necessary steps from there.
When I was a store manager, I was the person that they would send the problem to. And if it was still a problem, they knew it was the person.
Right.
And if they could get along with me and they were good at my location, then it was the manager. Right. I was that person. Like, why are you always sending me these people? Like, and I get along with them, so I don't know what's going on.
And I feel like I'm like the step out the door because I'm like, okay, hello, you're here. This is what we're gonna do because I'm so policy based and I'm by the book and my expectations are very clear. Very clear. And some people work well under that, and then others they struggle. So
yeah,
so far so good.
Yeah, it's finding that fit though. Yeah, no, that's good. How do you measure success in your team?
Individually, I look at, of course, numbers. You always want to look at numbers. But I also look at, like, their interactions with the customers. So when I'm in the stores, I kind of just look at, like, their banter, the customers that come in that are looking for them, asking for them.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah, that's a big one.
You know, because in this type of industry, you have your repeat regular customers that come every day. You have the few that come, you know, here and there. But if they're remembering your name, they're remembering your service, then I know you're doing a great job.
Absolutely.
So outside of
your
the actual numbers,
customers will let you know
I tell
who
my
they
staff
like
all the
and
time.
who they don't like.
Yep. I said, listen, customers are going to tell on you.
Absolutely.
They don't have to see me for 6 months. But if they catch me at one of those stores, they're going to tell everything.
Every time. Everything. Like it just bleh,
and if they see a new person, they'll start telling. And then that person will tell me, I hear stuff from other cities when I'm at home. And I'm like, what is going on?
Literally, you'll message me about some stuff in my own city that I ain't seen or heard yet. And I'm like, wait, how do you even know? You got little spies everywhere.
Hey, are you awake?
Yeah, I got that last week. Hey, you awake? It's 12:30.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
That was hospital night. That was the same as hospital night. So I was like, hey, are you awake?
Yeah.
So I have eyes and ears everywhere.
I already know.
And so if I see it, if I hear it, I try to get ahead of it.
Yeah.
You know.
And see, I hear stuff by accident because I'm not looking for it. Like, but it comes to you.
It just comes to me, and I try to be
trickles
proactive.
To me. It doesn't really come. It just kind of.
And I was gonna get out of my bed, and I was gonna drive and check on you. I was already out of my bed.
Oh no, right? You're on your way. Another emergency. Yeah. No, I appreciated that, though. That really meant a lot that you called to check on me.
But I knew that you would do the same thing for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. Just referring to an incident that we had at one of the locations of the company we work for. It was like an incident happened and Mel heard about it and called me immediately. Was like, "Are you okay?"
You need it.
Yeah, we're good, but you know, I mean, that's what teamwork is too.
Right.
I mean, even us as coworkers, you know, who work in the same industry, same level of management, and we have each other's back all the time.
Yeah, and I don't like to be caught by surprise. I don't like, you know, for things to wake up to something. And so I kind of think of all of my colleagues the same way. I'm like, okay, I don't want him or her to have to deal with this. So let me let you know, even if you know already. But
honestly, I had heard about it like 15 minutes before you called. So if I hadn't heard about it, I would have been very scared. Like you were calling for, I was like, what? But I knew exactly why you were calling me, and I was like, look at Mel, all up in the business already.
All times of night, I get it.
No, I really appreciate that though.
And it comes from the customers.
It does. Always.
It comes from the customers.
Always.
The customers tell
they take
us
care
everything.
of us.
They do. They really do.
They really, yeah. I had a guy steal our tip jar one time, and one of the customers came up. She's like, "Hey, he has your tip jar over there, counting your money." I said, "Wait, what? Where's my money?"
Wow.
Yeah, that was a fun night.
Jeez.
He took the tip jar, pulled all the money out on the table, and just started counting the money on the table, like in the store. I'm like, "Can I have my money, please?"
Thank you.
How much I got?
How much did we make?
It's a trip. So what key skills do you believe are essential to being an effective leader? Like, what do you hold yourself accountable for?
So I try to keep my personal and work separate. So no matter what's going on at home, when I get to work, it's work. So I don't want to bring whatever I may have going on. I don't want to take that out of my staff. So I try to, I make sure I separate that. If I know that I'm having like a really bad day and I can't shake back, then I'll stay in my office.
Yeah.
You know, or, you know, I'll stay away from my staff because I don't want that vibe. You know, I don't want that energy to rub off on them because.
That's so huge.
You know, I operate that way. I can pick up on people's energy and it'll either bring my day up or bring my day down.
Yeah.
And it's so hard when you're in this type of industry because you see so many people and so many different personalities and you try to stay, you know, at a certain place or a certain level. So that's the first thing. And I wake up, I try to listen to some good music.
Yes.
You know, when I'm getting ready and I'm driving in the car, you know, it depends on my morning. What I'm listening to.
I was listening to gospel music all day. That's the kind of week I've had. I've been Jesus-ing it up all day. Like, Lord.
I have my Pandora on, like, you know, so I'll put on my India I read sometimes. Just kind of depends on my mood or what I'm going
to.
to.
That's probably my problem lately. That's probably what I need to stop doing.
It really depends on my mood, you know. I try to also just make sure that I plan my day out. And so it doesn't always go as planned.
Right.
But I always try to plan my day out and have things, you know, just be prepared.
Yeah.
So when you're prepared, you just, you know, you're not like just flying by the seat of your pants, you know. So I try to be prepared. I try to have everything in place. And again, like I said, I'm big on communication. There's a lot of times I'll go into a store with one intention and then something happens, you know. So like when I went in Monday for the meeting, I mean, 2 things were falling apart. And so that just kind of took me an hour out of my meeting.
Yeah. And
then I started the meeting an hour late, and I was supposed to be somewhere else. So things don't always go as planned.
Got to be flexible.
So you have to definitely have a lot of flexibility in your day. Patience, which I'm learning.
You're doing great at that.
Because, you know,
we can skirt back about 7 years and compare to where we're at now, and I think you're doing great with that.
My patience was so short coming into this, but I've had to learn it. And just, you know, just kind of mellow out. Like, some things, you know, you can just let it slide. Some things you can address.
Yeah.
But you don't have to address every single thing every single time. And then just how you handle things, too. So, just, it's kind of a learning process.
Yeah. I was talking to one of my managers today. She's off, but she was having issues at her house, like with her air conditioning. And she said, you know, I just want to thank you. And I'm like, thank me. you got to have AC right now. What are you thanking me for? She goes, because I would be in tears on the floor right now, but what you taught me a couple of months ago has saved me. She goes, I know there's another problem coming. So why am I going to spend all my energy on this issue? I'm going to solve this issue and be ready for the next one. And I was like, it's true though. I mean, there's something right behind the next, like there's always an issue or something you're going to have to deal with coming. So why spend all of your emotional energy on this one problem? Like solve the problem, correct it, or never do it again, and then move on, and don't spend all of your energy, especially emotional energy. Like tears don't solve anything, and I understand we all have to let it out sometimes, but we also need to solve the problem. Yeah, like don't dwell on it for too long, because it's just you're wasting your energy on that.
And I think one of my biggest takeaways is we solve what we can, and it's just same thing with customers. If you're struggling with your sales and you only have a certain amount of customers that are coming in. So deal with who you have in front of you. So deal with what you have in front of you. And the rest, there's not much you can do about it.
Yeah. Learn about the word to worry about, right? Yeah. And stress about. I mean, there's some things that, like, and then I solve it and then move on. I can't keep thinking about this problem. Like, it's moving on. It's about the next at all. And it's like, talk about football and sports. It's like the sports. Like, you have a bad play. Like, you can't sit and you got 25 seconds to get on the line and make another play. So why are you worried about
you got the next race or whatever.
It's the next play. It's the next. It's the next thing. So you always have to be prepared for that. How do you ensure that you are providing effective feedback to your employees? I mean, we talked about you have your meetings and you speak to your employees, all your team, all the time. So, are there any other ways that you ensure that you're providing effective feedback to them?
If I'm in the store and I see something, I'll correct it then, but it's not harsh correction.
Yeah.
So if I see they're helping a customer and they miss an opportunity, then I may chime in and say, hey, do you want to do this? Or would you like to add this? Yeah. And it just kind of depends on the customer, because, some of them you have a better relationship with others and you can kind of read their moods a little better than others. So you can kind of say, what kind of day are you having? I think you should add this, And so they'll just kind of start talking to you and telling you just everything. And then it may add on. So then when that person leaves, I'll say, hey, make sure, you're asking every customer this.
Yeah.
And they'll go, okay.
And not in front of the guest.
Yeah,
always.
Not in front of the guest.
Yeah, I know. I get embarrassed for people when I'm in an establishment and I see the manager correcting somebody in front of everybody. I'm like, don't do that. Like, don't embarrass people. We're all adults.
Right.
We're not children. Like, you're not my mother or my father. Don't chastise me. Like, but teach me. Lead me. That's what I need from my management.
And then the tone, your delivery. Yeah. You want to yell at them. You don't want to demean them.
Hell no.
It's just a conversation. That's just say, hey, make sure next time you're doing this.
Right.
And they receive it a lot better.
The last time I might have yelled was in Baton Rouge. Might have been the last time that I
Don't yell in Baton Rouge.
And it was only because I was like, I'm getting my keys and leaving.
Don't yell in Baton Rouge. But when you show them, when you give them an example of how they can because a lot of people struggle with transitioning from one thing to the next, or even upselling.
As far as like when you're at work
and upselling and stuff. Some people are uncomfortable with it, so they don't really know how to go about it. So if you do it for them a few times, then they can just kind of steal your technique.
Exactly. And then they'll eventually find their own unique ways.
Yeah, they'll find their own way. So
because then you'll learn that your customers like certain servers, better than others, and so you see how they interact with them, and that kind of tells you about that person too.
Right. And so you get your takeaways and you just make your mental notes.
So how do you handle situations where employees are not meeting your expectations?
Oh, I definitely have a conversation. And it depends
on right?
It depends on the relationship with that particular person. Like if it's someone new and I really don't know them that well, then it's a conversation. It's documented, and I give them a progressive plan. Okay, so this is what I need you to work on. I may put you on a depending 60-day review, 90-day review, where we can come back and see if you've improved in these areas. If you're a person that I know you know the job and you can do it and you've done it, and maybe you're having a bad something, or maybe something's going on, I don't know, then I'll pull you aside first. And I'm like, hey, listen, what is going on? Let's sit down, let's have a conversation. This is our come to Jesus meeting. But I'm big on a progressive plan, documenting things. That way they can visually see what my expectations are. And sometimes you just need to have a tough conversation. They're like, you know what, I need to. I'm gonna get it together. I just had a minute, or I need a minute. I'm gonna get it together. It just depends on who the person is. I pay attention a lot, so I kind of watch them, kind of see what their mood is. If it's someone I know, then I may already know what's weighing on them, and then I'm able to say, hey, listen, I'll take over the front. You can go to the back. It's just an easy transition. Sometimes you just have to really pay attention to your staff.
Yeah.
And know what's going on with them.
That's some great advice. It's what I got from all that is just mainly like just communicate, be a human. You're a manager, you're a leader, but you also need to have that human element.
Right. You have
to
to offer
everything
some
too.
grace, some empathy.
Yeah, that's huge. Offering grace is missed these days. Like a lot of people don't do that anymore. Right. Unfortunately, like it's either it's expectations. You do it this way, or
that's it.
You're canceled.
And so I'm big on grace and empathy because
it's needed.
I have kids and they'll be in the workplace, and I'm hoping, I never know what their situations may be, so I'm hoping that they'll have someone that will offer them the same grace and empathy that I offer my employees.
Yeah, I agree. So this next question, I need advice. I just started a bartending gig, and the bar manager has been talking really bad about me to other guests. She's not happy that I joined the team because she was the only other bartender and said they did not need to. She obviously didn't hire me. I'm trying not to make waves, but I don't know what all I should do.
That's a tough one.
It's so tough.
It's so tough.
Because it's bad management is where it's at,
Yeah. So it doesn't sound like, and this could be a far stretch, it doesn't sound like this person is a person she should actually go and sit down and have a conversation with about
I agree.
it. So her next step would be, I guess, go to whoever hired her.
Which I think was HR. Like it was a recruiting hire.
Oh, it was a recruiting. So there's not like another
I'm sure there is
management above her. This is definitely a follow the chain of command situation because, she's new, so they don't really have a relationship or anything like that. So I definitely wouldn't suggest go and say anything to her. Now, don't get into the mudslinging.
Right.
Don't,
stay humble.
Yeah. Don't, if the customers are telling you things or whatever it's getting back to her, however it's getting back to her, I wouldn't even address it.
I agree.
Take the high road.
Don't add to the fuel.
Right. Take the high road in this instance because you're new. You never know what you're stepping into. So I would definitely just go say, hey, listen, I just wanted to bring this to your attention and, I would like some assistance with it. If it becomes to a point where it's like harassment, then of course she needs to start her documentation process. Absolutely. But in a situation like that, it probably won't.
So the way I see it kind of is if I'm a guest, if I'm, and the manager's complained to me about somebody else, that kind of makes that manager look bad. So as the guest, and I'm hearing all this bad stuff, and then I kind of get to know the bartender, and then I realize what's going on. So, like, I think your reputation precedes you. So I think you need to stick to your guns. Like, like you said, don't sling the mud. Don't make it worse. Do your job. Make your money. And don't feed into it and handle that the best you can, because I think that like the guests, like people around you know what the issue is for real.
And I would just divert the conversation. So if I have a customer telling me something, let them finish. You don't come up and it's like, thanks for letting me know.
Yeah.
You want another whatever.
Right. Did you see that Saints game the other day? Yeah. Just don't feed into
conversation. Yep.
Yeah, especially with the customer. And then, behind the scenes, like you said, chain of command, like you need to have a conversation with somebody. You can't be uncomfortable at work.
Right.
And then as a manager, like, honestly, it's like, of course, we like to make all the money. Of course, we all want to make the money. But somebody thought that y'all needed 2 bartenders, not 1. So either you're not handling your business like you should be.
Maybe you want to be bar managers.
Yeah. And like, so if you really feel like that, maybe you're the one that needs to go get a new job or if you feel some type of way. But as a person, as a human being in general, like, why take it out on the person who didn't hire herself?
Right.
You know what I mean? Somebody put her in that position for a reason. So
she's here for a reason.
Yeah, I agree. What is the most effective way to apply for a bartending position? I've tried applying online with no avail, and I know my resume is solid. Should I bring my resume in person?
It really depends on the establishment, but this day and age, a lot of people are not accepting those resumes when you bring them in.
Yeah.
A lot of them, if you do bring them in, they're just gonna sit on the desk or something somewhere. So, just from my experience, from what I see, just people coming in, go into different locations, kind of get to know the staff, get to know the people that are in there, and go from there. And then that way you can, okay, so are you guys hiring? Every bartending job isn't the same. So you may have some surface level bartenders where you're just doing some basic stuff.
Yeah.
And then you have those mixologists where you're doing all kinds of different cocktails and wines and spirits and tap beer and all of these different things. So I guess determine which type of bartending environment you want to be in. And then from there, start trying to go into those type of establishments and develop relationships with maybe some of the staff, become a familiar face.
Yeah. You won't be too familiar because I don't like to hire regulars.
I want you in there every single day.
Drink all my stuff. I like that, but like we kind of deal with that too, to where when I finally get in touch with somebody, or if I go into a store, there's a message for me. I filled out 2 online applications, and so I think like maybe a follow-up phone call wouldn't hurt to the store, leave a message or something. But yeah, I agree. I think,
or maybe get the hiring manager's email and possibly send an email to that actual person. I don't know if that email is going to generalized email or if it's going to someone directly.
Well, the way that our company works, we don't even see the applications till we see the application. You know what I mean? Till it's like brought to our attention. So, so we might completely miss that. So I think it's important, like you said, go in there, talk to the people, or make a follow-up phone call. To get on there. Yep. What are polite ways, phrases, and hacks to walk away politely from an overly chatty or indecisive guest? We talked about the overly chatty guest, I think, but what about somebody who doesn't know what they want to drink yet, and you've got a line of people waiting for that? For me, I think it's just a casual, hey, I'm gonna give you a second, let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be right here. I'm gonna help the next person.
We're pretty busy like that. I have a really busy store on game days, and so when I have a person that's like that and they're holding up my line's out of the door, we can offer them a couple of samples, but we don't want you to try everything. And so then at that point, if they're still not ready, I'll try a few questions. Do you want this or do you want that? To try to get a feel for what their palate is. And I'll make some suggestions for them. If they're still not ready, I'll say, you know what, I'm going to give you maybe this list or here's, some things that we've come up with. I'm going to get you to step aside and take a look at that. And when you're ready, I'll come back and check on you or something like that. Knock a few people out of the way and then say, hey, are you, have you decided or what do you think? And go from there.
Yeah, that's good. How do you feel about communicating or terminating through text message? This is a big one because apparently this is a thing, and I don't understand that. I don't know why I would terminate somebody through a text message, but
I mean, we're in that day and age.
I know,
where everyone does everything text or social media or whatever. And then you have some people who just simply won't. They're not going to come in. So what happens is if I call you and I say, hey, Jenny, I want to have a meeting with you, your defenses are going to go up. And so you won't even come to the meeting. You won't respond, or you'll just say, okay, I'm not going to worry about it because I must be in trouble, so I'm just going to quit. So a lot of things go through your head when you get that. So I think that's why a lot of people resort to text because they've tried to do it the other way and they're not getting a response. I mean, it should be your last resort.
Yes.
I prefer a face-to-face, but I mean, I've had to do it.
At some point, I'm waiting for you to reach out to me because like I've already tried to reach out to you to have this meeting. You're not responding to me. Like, I don't know. I don't want to send your terminated text message. You're going to have to come to me or either I'm going to assume you quit because if I never hear from you again.
When I send that final email, I'll send that final email and it'll say, because if I requested a meeting and you didn't respond or whatever, I'll send that final email saying I need a response by this day and this time.
Yeah.
And if I do not hear from you, then I will assume that you have decided to terminate your employment with us. And sometimes they respond back, and then sometimes they don't. When they don't, then
that's easy.
I have that in writing. So if there's ever anything to come back, I can say, hey, I reached out to you. So
yeah. Here's one that I've seen a lot. I had a job interview that seems to go very well. I genuinely adore them. I sent a follow-up email but have not heard back. It's the job that I want. Should I reach out a third time or move on and apply to other places?
I'm going to always say keep your options open.
Thank you, because I would agree with that. Like, first of all, always keep applying to other jobs.
Keep applying to other jobs.
Because that might be your dream job today, but tomorrow you might see another dream job.
You never know what's going to change on that dream job.
Too.
Anything can change.
Yeah.
So I'm going to always say keep applying until you get employed. You don't want to just sit and wait for someone.
No.
Because now, with staffing being such a huge issue, people are doing multiple roles. And so sometimes it's just taking a lot longer for the process to happen.
True, yeah.
And depending on how many interviews you have. Some jobs are doing 3 and 4 interviews. Some jobs you may just have 1. And then you have one person doing that role, but they have so many other things that they're doing. I know for me personally, I've had people reach out to me via my email about, are we hiring or checking the status of the application. And I hadn't got to my emails yet, but I'll get there and I will respond.
Yeah.
But it's so many different dynamics that you have to look at.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with sending a follow-up email. I mean, obviously, and even a second follow-up email if it's been like a week or 2 weeks and you still really want that job. But I'm all about I'm a Lori Harvey mentality. Like, I am the prize. You need me to work for you. So I'm not chasing you for a job.
I mean, not only that, it's just like there has to be something else out there that you can.
There is a lot of other something else's out there, yeah. And even something that you can do in the meantime until there is that position open for you at this job. But don't sell yourself short just sitting by and waiting for it to come to you. You've got to be proactive. I saw this comment and statement, and I thought this was a really cool idea, but I want to get your thoughts on it. I've been reading a lot of comments. It's safe to say bad management has played a role in the decline of hospitality industry morale. There needs to be a mental health network dedicated to service industry workers, a safe space for people to discuss and work through the abuse we have endured, and support for self-love, substance abuse issues, and depression. This is also why managers need a certification program to teach the importance of emotional intelligence, consciousness, and true management education. Your thoughts?
So that's a loaded question. That is definitely loaded there.
It was very interesting to me.
So I do agree with, and I won't just say bad management. I think just customers do. From COVID up until now, it's just been really tough. So I definitely think that for anyone in any industry, I'm really big on mental health. So if you feel like you need it, definitely seek out and get it. First place I would go would be if your company has like employee assistance program, I would definitely try there first. And find you a counselor, because I think they may give you 3 sessions or 6 sessions or something like that for free. Depends on your program. Try that and go from there. But I do definitely think that we've endured a lot. There's a lot of abuse. I mean, verbal, and sometimes it gets physical. And it's a lot. It's a lot.
I agree.
In terms of formal training, I don't know how we would do it or what would be the process, but I think everyone would benefit from maybe a professionalism training.
I agree, and I think that's really why I started this whole podcast, was because I say all the time, like, we throw a lot of people in management positions these days who have no leadership at all, like got expertise or whatever, or never been in a position like that. And it's, let's teach you how to do inventory, let's teach you how to look at your costs and your labor, but like never how to deal with actual situations with a customer, with a with an employee, with your team member, or when situations arise, how you should handle that. So you're taking somebody basically off the streets who's just really used to dealing with customers, probably putting them in a higher management position and expecting them to just go and know how to deal with these, like you say, emotional intelligence and dealing with the problems. Because as a manager, you have to humble yourself. It's not ego at this point. You've got to know who you are, and you got to pull your ego back. You can't let that run everything, because it's going to run you.
And you have to have the mental capacity to deal with it. And sometimes you're not in the mental space to do it, because it could have been one of those long days or one of those long weeks. But so that's that fine line where you have to take that time and take care of yourself. And say, okay, I need to do this, whatever your safe space is.
Yeah.
I don't know if you need you may need a spa day, or maybe you need to go and work out, or whatever it is you do to take care of yourself, you go and do that.
It's very important.
I know for me, I'll go get a massage, but I also, I have a therapist. So yeah, I feel like you have to be in a mental space to be able to deal with it. So sometimes you have to take a step back and do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself mentally. So spa day or shopping day or whatever, go work out. For me, like, I'll go get a massage. I also have a mental health counselor. I actually got that person through our EAP. And it was for something totally different. But, I mean, we battle so many things, and not just work. I mean, think about what you're dealing with personally. I know for me it was grief. So it was started off as grief, and I'm like, okay, well, let's just continue this on.
Counseling's good.
So counseling is definitely good. And even if you don't want to invest in a counselor, there should be someone, a trusted person, a safe person, someone that you can go and talk to and say, hey, I'm just having a moment, or I'm having a bad day. Someone that you can trust that's not going to judge you. It's just a safe space. You just sit down and talk, and sometimes just listen, or just sit in silence.
Yeah, my girls and I, we don't do it every month because we just don't have the time, but we have confessionals. We call them confessionals because they don't leave this table. You can talk about it. One girl, she was like, my husband, driving me crazy. Like, talk your talk. So say whatever you need to at this table. It's not leaving this table. And we all can leave it here at this table when we leave. And it's much needed if we're not happy in our home. If we're not happy ourselves, then our home's not happy. Our work's not happy. Then it's all crumbling down.
All of that and everything that we have going on. Absolutely. We had something like that growing up. My aunt, she would sit with me and my cousins, and we had what we call girl talk. We were younger. We were like in high school. And she would take us to the store. We would get whatever snacks we wanted. Chips, candy, drinks, whatever. And we would just sit in a circle. And we would sit in that circle, and we would just talk about everything. And if there was something that happened, and say, well, Jenny, you hurt my feelings when you did this or when you said this, then we were able to have that conversation.
Honest communication.
And I think that just helps so much. Just open, honest communication, and then being able to accept what you've done, own it. Accountability is a big piece these days. What
do you mean? People don't do anything wrong. It's not my fault.
Accountability is a huge piece these days. And if you can own it and say, what, that wasn't my intentions, or just rethink what you did, and you can mend a lot of relationships that way. So
I agree.
I definitely think that managers, staff, anyone who feels they need to seek that help, they need to.
Yeah, it's very helpful instead of coming back to work and just piling it on and piling it on every day. And because your negative energy is feeding everybody right now, and we don't need that. Nobody needs that.
Right.
So,
and then people are not going to work around you.
Right. And you're not going to tips.
Your customers are going to notice it. So if you're having like one of those, like I said, I'll go sit in my office. I'm like, oh, no, not today.
Yeah.
You have to know. You have to be honest with yourself.
Yes. So. Yeah. You definitely got to know yourself for sure. But well, such a great conversation. I really appreciate you being here with me tonight. I loved your outlook on everything. It's always very similar to mine, but you're a great leader.
Thank you. I appreciate
you improve
that.
all the time. I mean, going back from, when I first knew you, yeah, and to where you are now, I think you're an amazing leader, and your staff. I mean, that's enough right there. Is your staff loves you very much, and so it speaks volumes.
I appreciate that so much.
Oh yeah, you're doing a great job. So, did you see what we were eating over here?
I saw that. Those are really cute.
Oh no, I was eating it before you got here.
And I was supposed to be on this. I don't want to say a diet, but I kind of lose my stomach.
Well, that cupcake ain't gonna help, but
I'm getting.
It's gonna heal your soul a little bit.
I'm getting a cupcake.
That's Nell's Sweet Treats right there. She takes care of us when we're filming over here. The delicious food, and we got our lemonade today.
Yes.
Yeah, you're sobering it up. I had a little rum in mine. That's okay.
Yeah.
We all need a little rum sometimes.
I may stop and do some work on my way back home.
Okay. So. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again for being here.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you.
Cheers.